I'm so
Hello.
happy that you're here. Before we jump into this, every time that I talk about the metaverse with you, I feel like I'm a part of history, like
You
that we are
are.
making history. And I think it's so cool. So, welcome everyone. And please, if you are watching this on the replay, we want you to also interact. We're not going to forget about you. But first, I want to do a quick little intro to my friend here, who is also known as the nerdy girl entrepreneur,
Yeah.
Wanda. So Wanda is a visionary. She's an inventor of several first in market solutions and veteran entrepreneur of almost 20 years. Yeah, I'm like aging us because so am I.
Yeah.
Wanda is dedicated to helping the growth of ambitious business owners through curated connection. And she does this by featuring experts who are rocket fuel, like all of you that are part of my connections and my audience. So I'm so excited for you guys to be a part of this. And on the Rock-It Fuel podcast, and she has recently launched the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse, which we are going to give you a sneak peek into what that looks like. It's a one-of-a-kind education and social experience designed just for you entrepreneurs. So welcome, lady.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
So exciting. Oh,
I'm so excited for this conversation because you recently did the grand opening for the metaverse, the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse, and it was such a cool experience, so different. And so I know you and I in conversation are like, okay, I think that I know people that could really, really benefit from hosting their live events inside of the metaverse. I definitely want to host my live events inside of the metaverse. I can't wait for that to happen.
yes.
Why not just share it to everyone and
Yeah,
share it?
yeah. I'd love to kind of rewind and kind of explain to people why this is so important too, if you don't mind.
Yeah, let's start with that.
I started this journey probably a little over 6 months ago. Well, actually now probably like 8 months ago. And so when I started Rock-It Fuel as a brand and I started it as a podcast, my goal was really to encourage people to tap into experts that are rocket fuel so that they could accelerate whatever goals that they have, whether it's in business or in life. And as an entrepreneur, a longtime entrepreneur, in that experience, I realized that it had taken me way too long to get a coach. Like my very first coach, it took me 10 years to get. And part of it, there are a lot of reasons. Like I have a doctorate degree and then I came from corporate. And then there's all this like, yeah, you can do it, Wanda. You could figure it out, whether it's externally or internally. And I'm sure you guys all kind of know the feeling. And you're like, oh, you get it's stuck in this do it yourself mindset, right? Where it's like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And then also you're always trying to save money. So you're like, oh, I'm going to save money by figuring it out. And no, you don't, by the way. It takes a long time to figure out, like, no, if you hired somebody to help you, it would be like, zoom, right? But it's hard. We're in this wacky state. So it started with me just saying, you know what? I want to host a podcast sharing all these wonderful people that I've grown to meet and learn about in my journey so that other people don't have to take so long to find like their experts that are going to be rocket fuel for them. And then I'm just like, holy cannoli, as I'm meeting more and more people and interviewing them, I'm like, create an event or something. This is amazing. And I don't know if you guys feel this. You may not have like overtly said it, but this is what I was feeling. I felt frustrated when I wanted to make a decision to hire social media expert, to hire a YouTube expert, to hire a marketing expert or finance help or anything. And I felt like I didn't have a resource to go to find those people. Like basically it was whoever popped up on an ad or a webinar or whatever. And then in that moment of desperation, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to buy. And I didn't feel like an educated buyer. Do you know what I'm talking about, Gina?
Yeah, totally. It's kind of like window shopping and you see something and then you're like, okay, I'm going to go get it. But you have regrets after you buy it.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because also the way we learn to market as entrepreneurs, this is kind of going down another little path here, but it's all part of the foundation because the way we learn to market is to kind of create this excitement and grab somebody like at this moment and, make them decide right at that moment. And so we're all stuck. And I say entrepreneurs because we're stuck in this funky marketing world and also this funky way of making decisions for our business because corporations don't do it this way. So it's literally like small biz DIY mindset, like go with your gut, just make a decision sort of thing. I figured that by featuring as many experts as possible, it empowers entrepreneurs to, first of all, know the types of decisions that they need to make, the types of experts they should be working with, and then be informed and say, yes, that person resonates with me, right? So I'm glad to see a comment. I've definitely done that before, the buyer's remorse and such. And so as we're selling, like our duty is to share as much of ourselves, of who we are, and connect more deeply so people don't have that remorse when they're buying with us, right? They feel like they understand what our expertise is, and they also get a flavor as to who we are as a person, as an agency, what that experience is. And so, like, fast forward through all that process, and by researching, doing a live event, holy cannoli, the expense
Yeah.
of doing a live event. I mean, kudos to you guys that have invested in it and have been like biting your nails, being like, oh, I hope people show up so that this has a return, right? Now, there's value in in-person events because of that proximity, right? To be able to not only learn from you, but to be able to socialize with you and with others. There's an energy that's created and a comfort level that's creative. And that's why in-person events close more.
Yes. And because they're so much more personable.
Yeah.
And you build that relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So now we have Zoom events, or I mean, not criticizing Zoom itself, but we have our traditional, I'll say, our traditional virtual events that we're familiar with, such as using a service like Zoom. And sure, we present, but we lose the opportunity to interact with each other, which, by the way, like when you have people that are confident, experience, are resonating with you, with your product, and they're interacting with other people that may be on the fence, they bring them along too, right?
Yeah.
They help increase their confidence, because now I meet somebody else in the audience and I'm like, oh, you're like me, we have similar experience, da 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 da, and oh, you're saying yes, okay, so I feel more comfortable saying yes. And then add on having, I'll use you as an example, having a Gina mingling around and Gina's team mingling around, so that now I know, oh my gosh, like I don't know Gina as just the expert, but as a person. And I really resonate and I feel really comfortable. Boop, boop, boop. That increases the know, like, and trust factor. And we all know that increases somebody's comfort in buying. So I look at this Rock-It Fuel Metaverse in-person event and I'm like sweating bullets, because honestly, I've never run a full event, an in-person event on my budget. I ran a lot of in-person events on other people's budgets and on the corporate level as well. So I was very familiar with it, very comfortable with the process, but I was sweating with like,
it's different when it's on your budget.
yeah,
Totally.
like, will people come?
Yeah.
Will I get a return? Right. I don't think I had told you this, Gina, but like over 10 years ago, I actually created my very first metaverse like event for the pharmaceutical industry.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is why I was kind of aware of what was going on. And I was like, I think this might be the time. But it was a very flat sort of interaction, but it was the concept of creating an environment versus just a flat presentation. So it was like a fancy version of Zoom or what we're doing now. It made you feel like you were in an audience and stuff like that.
You were a trend setter.
Yes, this is
that's what I call a trend setter.
Yes, this is my talent and my curse. Because very often in my career, I often created first in market solutions and it was way too early. And I have stories around that too. So that is what I've come to realize, like, that's what I do as a visionary. It's hard to kind of say like, hey, I'm a visionary, and like to actually even put that in a bio, but that's just what I do. I tend to just think of things before they even happen.
But then you actually make them happen.
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so I was like, all right, I'm sweating a little bit about this in-person event thing. So I'm like, let me go back and kind of research what's going on in the metaverse. Like what's happening here? I know, like, Zuckerberg is like interested enough that he changed his company to be called Meta, and he's like all into this potential. Let's see how far it's actually gone. Okay. So it's come pretty far.
Let's start really quick, and not to interrupt you, but because I know we keep throwing the word metaverse out, but give like a quick description or explanation of what is the metaverse.
Yeah.
And we're actually gonna show you
We
guys
are.
what it is.
Stay tuned.
So you gotta stay tuned. But yeah, tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about what exactly
Yeah,
this
it
is.
is important because a metaverse is literally a virtual environment. That's that's all it is. It's a virtual environment that is supposed to be a representative of the real world. And why it's important for you to think of it as an environment is because it's literally 3D even from a technology perspective. Like when you're in the metaverse, like you as a person, when you're in a metaverse environment, you literally have like a longitude, latitude, like you have a space, right? And you move around a space. When you're interacting with somebody, you have to look at them. If you turn, you're literally turning away from them. So it's not a flat experience, it's a three-dimensional experience, but it's a virtual world, a virtual environment, period. That's the easiest way. Now, that virtual world, because it's digital, it can look and feel like anything you want. So, of course, the introduction to the metaverse, and like long, long, long time ago, when companies like Second Life and such came about, and you could have an avatar in the metaverse. I mean, this is like a decade or more ago, right? It was
Mhm.
more in the gaming world. So if you think about a game, if you're a gamer, if your children, are gamers, and you think like, oh my goodness, the progress of the visuals, right? You could create whatever you want, right? So it can be a reflection of a real life experience, or you could be on Mars or a made up planet or whatever. Like sky's the limit. It's actually creativity is the limit, right? So that's
Yeah,
super exciting. What Zuckerberg is trying to do is he's already kind of figuring out how is it that we can truly have as much of a 3D experience as possible. And this is why when a lot of people talk about the metaverse, they talk about using like the virtual reality glasses, right? The Oculus or whatever, right? And it's
mhm,
because gaming has come so far that these kids are already technically playing in a metaverse, right? Even those
right,
interactive games where they're actually meeting their friends in this environment, in this gaming environment, that's literally a metaverse. Right?
right,
Because it's not like, hey, I'm going to chat with you now. It's like, oh, I need to meet you on this mountain and I have to go somewhere because it's actually a 3D environment. Does that make sense?
yep,
So it's different in that sense. But once you recognize that it's a replica of an environment, then things
mhm,
start clicking as you even kind of walk into that. Now, when I was researching companies that were delivering experiences in the metaverse, most of them had a gaming background, okay?
oh,
Yeah,
really?
most of them
Okay,
came from gaming, and then they were like, "Hey, kids have been using this forever." Now, like, grown-ups realize, "Oh, maybe I can create a professional environment where I can actually utilize these same things." I mean, when we may get frustrated that our children are, like, sitting there gaming, but they're actually socializing just in the metaverse. It's
right,
just different, and they're able to socialize with people from all over the US, all
all
over the
over,
globe. So, if we look at it that way and appreciate it that way, that's where these companies where it's like, "Oh, we've been doing it, so let's bring it on over to the business world." So, I met with 7 companies total, and there are definitely more than 7 companies, but I had to kind of whittle it down. I obviously
mhm,
wanted to meet with companies that have already thinking about creating these more business like environments, and many of them worked with large corporations, right? Because the big guys are the ones that could afford to play in this playground. But when it was gaming, this was my experience, and it'll probably change even but based on my comments here if one of them listens. But in the gaming environment, most of our kids are interacting socially either by chatting, texting, or just voice. Like they literally have a headset and they're like, dude, come on, follow me. We're going to take the mountain, right?
yes, I hear it all the time through my son's Oculus.
Yes, right? But they're not interacting with each other face to face, right? And so there are many reasons to that. It takes a lot of bandwidth to do that, by the way,
Mhm,
right? So it takes a very strong system to do that. So if you have bazillions of kids doing that, and now they're doing video, which I don't know gaming very well. So if there are games that are using it, then it's probably a much more expensive game and it's much more robust to do that, right?
yeah, I think there is, but yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, it's still
So
they're not
they're not there.
free.
Yeah, they're not free. And it's not that actually I'm gonna correct myself. It's not that they're not there yet. It's just that it's a very robust experience. It requires your computer gaming computers have to have a lot of processing power. Think of all of that. Okay. So that was the gaming side of things. And what I didn't like about those environments in general, I struggled with the fact that in general, they still had a very digital sort of vibe to them. But the biggest thing was that they were limited to interacting with each other via voice or chat because they came from gaming. Makes sense, right? And then I met a company that actually came from this is very interesting, came from the interior design space.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. That's where you're like, what? Right. So they actually think about a very high-end event design or interior design company, right? Where you're literally their clients are spending millions of dollars to design an event or to redesign their house, right? So these companies are actually available out there that will scan a venue like the main gala hall at the Ritz-Carlton, right? And they'll scan it digitally so that the designer can design the event digitally and get the financial approval to make it happen in real life. Right. And so when I saw this environment, I was like, whoa, Nelly, now we're talking, right? Because their environments were literally taken from real environments and then they modified them, right? But they were based off of that experience. Right? Now, what they also did was they had the avatars with screens as heads. So they weren't as fancy, right? They didn't look like humans and I couldn't become like a mermaid with a lion head or, all these crazy things like in the gaming world, but it was very practical for business because what I want to do is I want to see you. I still want the value of Zoom and this chat experience. So that was the platform and the design company or the development company that I wound up working with. And then from there, I was able to create my own club, I call it, right? And I was just like, all right, we're creating an environment for entrepreneurs, for ambitious entrepreneurs that want to tap into the rocket fuel of experts so that they can accelerate their goals. I love rock and roll. So Rocket Fuel, ROCK-IT came from like rock and roll. So I wanted to be like a different environment. I wanted to have an edgy look, almost kind of like a bar or a club, but not like too off because of course I want to create that bridge for you guys, right? Like we can go crazy. And believe me, the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse is going to have some really funky areas, right? And creative areas. But the first step was just to give you something that was familiar, which is a conference hall, right? Oh, I want to go to a main stage. I want an exhibit area. I want to be able to have conversation, right? And so that is the probably longer than intended story.
No, this is so good.
But this is behind the scenes of like how we get here. And also why it's so exciting for me to deliver it to you guys, okay? Because my goal was to create an environment so that experts can come in and be brilliant and host their like Rocket Fuel events, right? And you don't have to worry about the technology, right? I'm the geek. I love it. But I created the building for you, right? And I created the house where people will feel comfortable. Ambitious entrepreneurs will feel comfortable coming in 24/7. We literally see folks coming in like at all hours of the night. And I'll be like, wait, there are 3 people there in a conversation or they're having a team meeting and that's fine because it's open. It's like, come on in to the building. But here we're going to be hosting like the best of the best people that are impact driven. This is kind of my parameters to it, right? Because in any environment, any metaverse environment could be whatever it is. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a branding environment so that every person that hosts knows that the other people that have attended somebody else's event are also their people. Does that make sense? Like whoever walks in through that door is an ambitious entrepreneur who has a learner's mindset, who is looking to connect with experts that are Rocket Fuel, right? So no matter what. So now I've created this space where the traffic full of your people, and then you bring your people and everybody's just kind of amplifying each other as a result of it.
It's so good. And I can't wait to show everyone what it's like inside. But really, it's like, let's say that you are hosting an in-person conference or you're a speaker at a conference and you're walking into the hotel where the conference is at. There's different rooms for different breakout sessions. And then there's like the main conference room with the main stage. I mean, that is really the feel that you feel, except virtually, but you can still see people's real faces and interact with them on a real human level. So
without needing goggles, you don't need the goggles or whatever.
Without goggles, all that you don't need all
what
of
you
that.
do need is you need a laptop or a PC, and you need good internet. Because what I have noticed is I've had people kind of be like, oh, I'm having issues or whatever. And maybe they're using their phone as a hotspot and it's not strong enough. You know, sometimes our phone is great internet and sometimes it's not, just like it's great telephone and it's not, right? So you need that, because remember, we were talking about the robustness of the metaverse and how people typically would, for gaming, people typically need like high powered computers. Now, because all of this is hosted online, most of the processing power is actually happening off of your computer. Okay. You're not downloading anything at all, unlike a game, right? You're not downloading anything. It's all on the internet, but you do need good enough internet so that when you're doing a video call, you have good video, and so that you could download the details, right? The resolution of like the walls, the texture of the walls and the floor and all of that stuff. So that's kind of I don't know if anybody has
any question. I do see there's a couple questions, but
they were kind of about voice messaging versus text. What I will say is that in general, voice or video messaging in general is more effective, right? Because it enables somebody to get to know, like, and trust you more. It's more personal. They get a feel for your voice, your tone, etc., and then obviously your face. And this is why it was so important in the metaverse, if we were going to create a social environment for people to socialize beyond just text. And this is just kind of coming to me as a comment. Think about social and how some people say things via text that they would never say with their voice or in video.
Yes. And vice versa. People also mistake the context of something that you say via text. So I send tons of voice messages. You've gotten my voice messages, even through Messenger, through Instagram. That's just how I am.
Especially when you're in a rush, sometimes it sounds like a really like tough message when you really intended.
Like really cold and like, hard, and that's not really what you intend. So absolutely. Even in Slack, my team knows, like I'm
so I hope
now the bad thing with it is that you don't have like a whole transcription, but whatever. Like it's all about being human and connecting.
Exactly. And as things get more and more digital, right? So what Zuckerberg is trying to accomplish with his version of Meta is to bring more humanity into it. That's why he's working so hard on trying to represent you, like your face and like your expression and everything on a digital level. Like that's how visionary he is. He knows ultimately we will get there, right? Because it's different if you have an Oculus on, and if you've ever actually experienced virtual reality, when you feel like something is right there, it's one thing to talk to Gina like this is awesome. But if Gina was there in 3D, it's even more intimate. It's even a greater connection, right? So that's what he's trying to achieve. But we can get pretty damn close from an effectiveness perspective in business, and we don't have to wait for that. And also, an Oculus is pretty damn expensive. And so right now, most people don't have it, don't have the budget, don't have the interest in getting that. And so it was really important for me to optimize all of those features of the metaverse, but make it as approachable as possible, so that virtual event that you're rocking already and has awesome conversion rates, bring it to the metaverse and watch it like, right, take off. Because now we would structure it a little bit different, but you would give people the opportunity to do breakouts that are not like flat, but like breakouts that are definitely deeper. They fall in a different way, but also have your team potentially lead a breakout, and then have people socialize with each other and bring those early adopters or those people that are already at a yes and bring those maybes, into them. Like they could be your salespeople, even if you don't have enough salespeople, right? Add your own salespeople, and then you have a whole bunch of people mingling in the hall, right? And helping people make the decision as to whether it's the right thing for them, right? If you have just a flat virtual experience, you lose people as soon as you end that session. That's why we do so much follow-up email, right? After an event.
Yeah.
because it's like if they didn't say yes at that moment, then we have the fast action, bonuses and
Bonuses.
all that stuff. And then it's like, boo, and then you have
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss out, and you spend a lot of effort, doing that. So if you have a
Right.
virtual event, bringing it to the metaverse just boosts the conversions and the closing rates. But if you had a live event, you may not do them as frequently, even though they're high impact, high closing events. You may not do them because of the expense. But imagine bringing one of your successful live events and making it available more frequently
Mhm.
to folks on a global level by bringing it to the metaverse,
Right.
right? So that's kind of when I think about having the initial strategy session with a client. We'll talk about, okay, well, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to revive? Like maybe you have a really successful virtual event that your list is kind of like sick and tired of hearing about, right? So it's kind of a way of
Right.
zhuzhing it up, right? And reviving
Mhm.
an existing event. Or you're like, damn, I already have successful monthly launches or monthly webinars or workshop. I just want to boost the conversion rate,
Boost it.
right?
Yeah.
So then you do that. Or it could be a brand new experience, or it could be, so that's 1, 2, 3, or it could be literally taking a live event and creating a virtual experience from that. So 4 different scenarios, I would say.
So many options.
Yes.
So many options.
And I'm excited.
All
I'm
right.
excited to host you.
I know. Okay,
Shall we
so
give that sneak
are we
peek?
ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so here
Are
we
you
go,
guys
guys.
ready?
Yeah, are you guys ready?
Yeah, ready,
Come
ready,
on.
ready.
Let's get some fire emojis going. Come
I
on,
hope so
guys.
because this is Rocket Fuel. I'm very, very excited. I'm excited for you to attend a metaverse event because you will get more out of the experience, but even more
Yeah.
excited about hosting because that's kind of what we're here for. Like I want to feature all of you wonderful people, and I feel like this is an even better way of doing that. So, with that being said, I'm ready when you are to share.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna share my screen.
Yay! Alrighty. So here we are when you join the metaverse initially, this is the only time that you actually see yourself as an avatar. But this was really important for me to show before I click join because it shows you that like we went with a really just super simple cute robot, little bot guy or gal, right? And for special events, by the way, we do have the opportunity to put a little tuxedo or a sparkly dress on that avatar. It's a cute little feature, but I haven't activated it yet because I want to wait for like a gala or something. But
I want the dress.
yeah,
I want the
the
sparkly dress,
sparkly dress.
please.
Yes, it's super cool. But what's important here is from a functional perspective, what's most important as we're walking around, we want people to identify us, right? So as you're walking around, you have this screen that's big enough to show like a great picture of yourself. And you could do this is an example of what we do, maybe a little bit more about yourself. It should be big font. And so we have some tips there, right? This screen is what turns into your video when you're actually having a one-on-one conversation with somebody. Okay. So that's really, really cool there to be able to have that amount of space. And of course, when you're speaking to somebody, you actually have the opportunity to kind of make it bigger screen too. So if you want it to fill up the screen, you can. Okay. Now, of course, you could put your name, your company name, etc. And then on the body of the bot is something that's always showing. It never changes, right? Obviously, when this gets converted to video, then while you're in a conversation, people might not be able to see it, but they'll always be able to see what's on the body, right? In some cases, you could put your logo so they always know, right? In this case, I have a catchword, a call to action. So I have that. So if people text Wanda T to 1-909-741-1321, then they'll get like my e-business card and a quick summary of what I'm about. And that's more of just like a connection point because we all know that we forget like all the wonderful people that we meet. And it's better than a card because now that person, like if you text Wanda T, I have your email address and now I know to reach out to you and it's there, right? I don't have to like worry about getting a physical card and scanning them and all that stuff, right? So I actually recommend these catchwords for even for in-person interactions, but in this case, we're using that on the body, okay? But it could be whatever you want. I don't recommend a QR code. You can try, but what I find is that QR codes are harder to scan from a digital perspective. If it's not big enough, it could be a problem. If the resolution is not good because somebody's internet is a little it could be a problem, right? So QR codes don't work as well as a texting call to action in general. Okay, that's what your avatar looks like. Now, as I hit join, I can't see my avatar anymore, but I will be able to see other people's avatars. Okay, as you can see behind me. So here we didn't update it, but just on Friday, we had a special event. We had Molly Mahoney here.
Amazing.
Yes.
Love her.
Awesome session.
One of my mentors.
Yes. And she's fantastic. And what we did was a live podcast interview. So that was a Rock-It Fuel podcast interview that we did. We streamed it live into the metaverse so people could enjoy it together. And then we opened it up into a cyber social where Molly, after the interview, popped on in to the metaverse and she got to chat and answer people's questions and talk AI or actually talk anything. There were some folks that were just asking about strategy in general, right? But this is the main stage. So when you think of the main stage, this is in general where we would have the live presentations, okay? If folks want to join the main stage, they approach the main stage and then there's a little join icon and then you say, yes, you want to join. I'm going to say not now because there's nothing going on in the main stage. Here. When you host an event in the metaverse, if it's your hosted event, she was our guest. So we just change this image here. But if it's your event, this changes. You get to change the banners on the side and we'll wait over here to see if you see something special flying in the air. But you also get to change the conversation areas, the images to the conversation area. You could call them breakout sessions or whatever. You could have different names for them based on whether you're doing a breakout. So let's say you have a 1-hour presentation here on the main stage, then you break out into 3 different breakout sessions and there's the airplane that goes by and that gets customized for you as well. So you can have a custom banner.
That is so cool.
Yes.
It's
so fun.
So cool.
And so you can imagine, as people are sitting here, they're like, oh my gosh, they're like surrounded by your branding. Think of Rock-It Fuel Metaverse as like the Prudential Center or whatever, right? That's the name of the venue, but the venue will get customized for you and branded for you there, right? So then let's say you have an hour of breakout sessions so people can meet you, your team. Let's say you give them a worksheet or an activity that kind of progresses them along the messaging continuum that you have. And when you host an event in the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse, we also have a strategy session so that we can kind of talk about what you have, what you want to accomplish, and how we can optimize this space, okay? So this is what would happen here. Now, if I'm just walking around, there are landmarks within the metaverse, like the Meta Bar. We're not serving drinks here at the Meta Bar, but you never know.
Well, why? What do you mean?
I did realize that I can actually go
That's so
behind
cool.
the bar and turn around and it looks like I am bartending. So
Like you're serving.
yeah. Yes. And, by the way, you could take a selfie of yourself or have a friend take a selfie of you, right? A picture of you. You could go there behind the Meta Bar, turn around, and then have one of your friends take a screenshot of your avatar at the Meta Bar. How cool would that be, right?
I love it.
We should have photographers at the event to do that. But anyway, you could say, hey, meet me at the Meta Bar or meet me, by the table in the corner, right? If you hop into the metaverse as an attendee, right, then you have access to all of this environment and you can actually just talk to another attendee right then and there, like in the metaverse. Here, are you?
Quick thing. So Lakita said, this looks pretty cool. Similar feel to a role player game. Maybe my gamer son can help me create my version of this for my business. It is created for you already. Yeah. So that's what we're trying to show you is that Wanda and her team actually, you can rent the space from them. Yes. And they take care of putting your event together as far as what it looks like inside of the metaverse.
Yep.
So it's like,
so you don't have to deal with any of the
right. Like you guys are basically the event manager in a way.
Exactly.
Inside of
now
here.
We're managing the venue, but what we also are general contractors, right? So we have an exclusive relationship with our developer. So we can develop offshoots of this. So like, let's say you're like, okay, this is cool, but I have a vision of like wanting something on the beach or wanting something on a rooftop or whatever, right? Oh. We can actually create that. So there are 2 ways of doing that. If your audience is a Rock-It Fuel audience, then they can come into the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse, right? If they're also ambitious entrepreneurs, they can come into the Metaverse and then we could create a portal from the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse into your environment. And the reason why is because that that actually makes it a more affordable option for you to create a portal off of our environment. Now, if you want to create an environment where it's like we're working on creating a patient advocacy environment, right? Like in healthcare. So we're creating a separate environment totally for that. But because we're there to help you expedite, to be your Rock-It Fuel, right? And to expedite that process, because there's no reason, I'm telling you, there's no reason for you to go through the process that I went through. I want you to focus on delivering your brilliance.
Right. This takes time. I mean, you were developing this for how long?
Probably 6 months. So you don't want to take time out. You don't want to have to deal with the technical calls, with the project management, all that stuff. But if you want to, then we can work together, right? If you want to go
Right.
super techie, I'm there. I'll be your guide so that you can do even better, right? And just like step on the shoulders of somebody else that has already done, okay? So most definitely. I just want to kind of walk you through what else is here. Like, so if somebody comes in at like midnight and like no event is going on, they can still hop into areas like the interview studio, right? So actually here, the interview studio, every week or so, we actually change the interviews that are playing. Now playing, we have like a law of attraction video, a subconscious persuasion interview, and a finance and profits interview. I'm just going to walk through the walls because you can, and I'm going to show you here. You can play, so you can see it's actually here, and you could look at the chapters. You could hop on over and watch Paul's video instead. So this is a different environment here where it's kind of on-demand content.
Someone just asked, how would this work for us in direct sales where we survive on sales and Facebook Live?
Ooh, it depends on what you're selling. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you're selling?
I think it would be actually really good for the corporate side of the direct sales companies when they have their conferences. This would be great for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, if you're in direct sales and you have a team maybe, or maybe you're looking to grow your team.
Well, this could be
maybe
an
that.
up-leveled party. So let's say you would
Love
typically
it.
have your Facebook event, and then you might be running a live. It's going to bump it up. Now, what you do have to realize or assess is the cost of investing in having an event here and what your return is going to be. So that's something that we would kind of discuss. But obviously, it costs money to host something, right? Whether it's in person and such. But I will say is that whatever product you're offering, if you think that you would get a good enough return to actually rent a space at the Marriott or whatever to host it, then absolutely you're going to have a return here. So of course, with jewelry, you're not going to be able to have people try things on, but you do have that excitement of like, oh my gosh, I just bought the Apollo set or whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm going to get that too. Or ideas that people might have or whatever. So it does benefit you in the sense of the excitement of the other buyers, right? And communicating with each other and talking about what they want.
Yeah.
You have a main stage event, and then you have so that everybody can see you presenting the items, and then you have people break out of that into the conversation, and then you mingle around and you talk to people about what they want and such. Maybe you have 3 conversation areas where one is like business jewelry, the other is like social life, or the other is gifts for grandma or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is just like off the top of my head, but the biggest thing is just to understand like what the return would be. Obviously, if somebody's selling a high ticket item, then it's fantastic. Now, something that's also kind of interesting is in direct sales, you could potentially have an event with maybe somebody else where you can share the cost of the experience.
Yeah. Like co-host, like somebody that maybe clothing, and then you're the jewelry.
Exactly. So then you're creating an experience, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to consider. Just ideas off the top of my head. But for entrepreneurs here, then we kind of come around to what we understand as the exhibit hall, which is the marketplace here. And the reason why I called it the marketplace is when I first opened it built it as just a 3-day conference. That was my initial thought. I was like, I'm going to just create a 3-day conference. And then I was like, this is a lot of work. No freaking way. I want this to be a venue that is open for all, right? So then I changed it to the marketplace, but I also want entrepreneurs that are stepping into the metaverse to honestly get themselves and accept that buyer's mindset that we are here to tap into the expertise of others, right? So we can go in and say, okay, I want to learn more about somebody that can help me find the right money at the right time, right? Or, let me see. Oh, yes. Master using Facebook Live, right? With high
We're in there.
Yes, right? So as you approach one of these booths, as you get closer, then it'll play a
You're
video.
here.
Look at that beautiful
Okay,
face,
so
right?
I want to start
And
with,
then you can
did you know-
learn more about this. It's literally, we call it a 24/7 storefront, right? So if your service is serving entrepreneurs, you can have a storefront 24/7. And then we always encourage people to offer some sort of unique like metaverse offer so that people understand that we're doing our best to try and negotiate for you and encourage you to connect with experts, right? So that is, I could walk you through the exhibit hall, but we're not going to do that. But I think it's important for folks to get the feeling of what's already here for them, so they take your excitement and say, yeah, I mean, literally, we could host something next week in the metaverse because it's already here, right? It only depends on how ready your presentations are, your offer is, etc. But if you've already been doing successful events, then you already have the content formula. It's just a matter of how to craft it and organize it so that you're optimizing metaverse features. And that's what I'm offering to folks. I actually put together a very quick guide. Oh, what does it make sense? Summits? Absolutely.
Yeah. So summits, affiliate marketing conference, 5-day challenges.
Absolutely. Now, because it takes effort, obviously, to customize this for you, right? We're typically at this point recommending, for the full customization that we're talking about, we recommend a minimum 4-hour event, right? In that 4-hour event, there would be typically, my suggestion is 2 hours of content. So let's say you have 1 hour education, you break out into the breakouts, like I had mentioned, you go back, you have a 1 hour closing presentation with your offer, and then you open it up to conversation, right? And I actually made this formula, this potential agenda is available. If you text metaverse to 1-909-741-1321, okay, whether you're in the US or outside of the US, you can actually do this. You can use WhatsApp if you're outside of the US. So text metaverse to 1-909-741-1321, and then you will get not only this recommended agenda outline, but you'll also get a checklist of like, okay, what do I need to prepare to create an event in the metaverse? And what I invite you to notice is that there's nothing technical in it. It's all about offer, content, figuring out what your structure is, figuring out, what is it that you want to do? Do you want to replace an existing event? Do you want a new event? It's all of that stuff. But I put it all there for you so that you could look at it and say, yeah, I have most of this stuff. Let's rock and roll, right? The only limitation is our agenda, just like a physical space, right?
Right.
Like, oh, I want to do a Valentine's Day thing. We don't have anything scheduled on Valentine's, by the way, which would be an amazing,
that would be a good day.
That would be a good day. But yeah, so text metaverse to 1-909-741-1321. Use WhatsApp if you're outside of the US. You're going to get this sample agenda. You're going to get a checklist, and you'll also get a link to book a call with me, right? 30 minutes. We talk, and then we can talk about what you've done before, what your ideas are. And I will lovingly rein you in, by the way. I'm going to say that because people are like, I want to find the event, and it's like, all right, let's just do like one, dip your toe. Let's make your debut, because I don't want it to feel hard for you, right? If you make it too hard for yourself, you're going to think like, it's so hard to post something in the metaverse. No, it's just because you're being dramatic here, right? We have all of this covered. And when you host the event, we will have people there managing the event, managing the stage, making sure you go live when you do, ushering people to the conversation areas or whatever that they need to do. We'll do loudspeaker, like announcements to say, hey, everybody, move here, move there, right? To move people around. If they need technical help, we provide them with technical help. So you don't have to worry about anything. And that was what was exciting to me, because Rock-It Fuel and the podcast was about highlighting people that were Rock-It Fuel and just creating that platform. And this is like an elevated platform that is
Right.
done for you. If you want to go techie and you want to create your own whatever verse, like I'm there for you as well, because I got ideas, and maybe one of my ideas here is works for you, right? That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Just tell me about your business, because I have tons of ideas that I don't have services for, but I have
Right.
experiences that are in here.
And if you're like, okay, but how do I market my event?
Exactly. Exactly. And so, by the way,
Yeah.
Gina is one of our partners, right? If you are an agency that serves people that do virtual events and such, you could actually buy packages off of us. Okay. And we
Yeah.
have special offers, special deals for agencies. So, for example, you could buy it from us, the experiences from us at a discount, and then you can offer it to your clients at the same price. But now you can package in your support, like the pre-event social and emails and the post-event social and email, all of that stuff, right? You could package the whole thing, but be a direct partner of the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse. So we're always your go-to venue. Like, you know that that's already set. You can deliver the results. So that's exciting as well. So whether you are the expert that has the event and you're like ready to go and like up level, or you're an agency that wants to bring innovative and up leveled solutions, like you're like, oh my gosh, I know so-and-so, she's kicking butt, he's kicking butt, but this would just like kick him up 10 notches, right? Then let's book a call, because that's what the metaverse experience, the Rock-It Fuel Metaverse experience, is about.
This is so exciting.
Or like making history.
I know we are. We really are. In fact, you know what's so funny is I was actually talking to my kids about this. And when I was telling them, and I actually showed, I think it was my daughter, or my son one day, because when we were doing the grand opening of the metaverse, one of them was around and I was like, look inside of there. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. You don't have to wear the Oculus. I said, no.
Yes. Yes.
It was so funny.
So my 7-year-old loves, it's like literally she'll be like, mommy, can I go into Rock-It Fuel today? Like, I don't even know. I don't know what she loves. She loves navigating. She loves going and seeing the booths, right? And seeing the video that pops up. And I didn't know that you could walk through walls, because old person, right? That is like, oh, this is a wall. I need to walk around the wall, right? So she's like, and I was like, oh my gosh, you could walk through walls. So she made me think of, which I haven't been able to do yet, of like kind of planting little Easter eggs, or little like doing like a scavenger hunt.
that like a scavenger hunt.
Yes, and hiding things. So literally, I'm like, girlfriend, you're coming on payroll, because just her playing around, and she has ideas. She gets ideas. And so yeah, but you know that when your kids who have already been exposed to this space are like, whoa, this is cool, then you're delivering an up-level experience, right? And so imagine your prospects, right? The folks that you have been interacting with in a 2D world, or 3D, maybe only once a year, right? Because it's so expensive. You can literally add like as part of your mastermind, you can add like these quarterly summits or events, right? Where you actually get to connect with people on a deeper level. Why? Because when they connect with you on the deeper level, that's why they stay. Like, you can be brilliant. I'm not saying that you're not brilliant, but a major factor in somebody staying in a marketing mastermind versus B marketing mastermind is the people and the connection to the people, that tribe, right? So you could have two people that are offering equal brilliance in marketing.
The same offer.
Right? And you up level your connection. You create deeper connections, because you're in the metaverse. Your attrition rate, right, which is your loss, is going to go down. You're going to retain people more. And guess what? I'm getting nerdy here, but your customer lifetime value, right? This is business, folks. Like, this isn't just about it being like fun and like, yay, a new shiny thing. Like, I thought a lot about this. We invested a lot. And I say we, me, my husband and I, he supports my dreams and my visions very much. And I'm very thankful of that. But it was a big thing to be like, this is what's possible for entrepreneurs, but they're being kept from from it because the current view of the metaverse is that their clients or their prospects have to spend, $1,000 on an Oculus to do the metaverse, and that they have to spend, $10,000, $20,000 to create a metaverse experience. Like, you don't have to do that. Watch the replay.
So good.
Book time with me.
Make sure to text Metaverse.
Text it. You're going to be able to pre-plan already, because you'll be able to see, okay, this is the agenda she suggested. These are the things that I should have in place. And then let's have the conversation. My recommendation would be to work with whoever you do your marketing, your social with, et cetera, to make sure that you do everything possible to get the traffic there, right?
Right.
That's really important. You can have a beautiful event and not have the traffic there. And that's why at the moment, I recommend for the folks that already know that they have an offer that attracts, they have a presentation that converts, and then this could help you.
You have an audience.
Yeah, you have an audience
that they've already. Right.
Yeah. And of course, this can help you with traffic, because then the people that were like, ho-hum about, they have the Zoom fatigue, which we all have, are going to be like, oh, this is an experience. That's why I like calling it an experience versus another virtual event.
I love that. And honestly, that's why I'm loving it so much, because I talk so much about creating an experience in your marketing. And this just takes it to a whole other level.
Yeah. And there's more to come, because I know that once people use it, then they'll have more ideas. And then I can go back to the development company and say, to our partners and say, hey, all right, how about this idea? That because they have such a long list of enhancements that they're working on literally daily. They're like, guess what? We just added this feature, this, right? But we can help them prioritize how to create this environment and this technology so it serves us as business owners, right? I feel like this may be the first time where small business can actually kind of dominate something like this versus waiting for big business to do it and then for it to be cheap enough for us to do it. Okay.
Right.
That's usually what happens. That's the formula for technology, right? Because it takes so much to invest in it that usually you go right to the big guys as your clients, and the little guys don't have access to it because it's too expensive. And then you're going to have access to it maybe like 5 years from now, right?
Yeah. What you're doing and what you're making available is just so amazing. And I'm so happy that we got to do this today. Absolutely. And guys, if you come back and you watch the replay, share any questions, comments. Wanda and I will definitely be keeping track. We will respond to text that number. Text the word metaverse to it, please. 909-741-1321.